Daily Broadside, day 853. Story time today. So, I had a friend of mine, and she introduced me to a girl probably 5 years ago, 6 years, probably 6 years ago. And we hit it off and spent the next 3 years or so together. And everything was cool, you know. Like, we got along great. She's a very nice person. She's very smart, well-read, you know, hold a conversation, all the cool things you look for in a person. And, you know, we hung out for quite a while. And later on, probably a year into the relationship, we were talking about something one day, and she just, in passing, mentions that she has BPD. And I was like, oh, yeah, whatever. And I don't know what I heard, but I didn't know what she was talking about. So after the conversation, I go to look it up, borderline personality disorder. And as I'm looking it up, it leads me to examples of that, you know, and one of them is Alex Forrest from Fatal Attraction, Glenn Close's character. And I'm like, I don't like the sound of this, you know. And like I said, we're a year into this relationship. So I'm reading all this stuff, and separation anxiety, self-harm, you know, doubt, all these things creep in. Clingy is, I guess, the word for it. And then I started, like, backtracking, like, the relationship, and I'm like, she is kind of clingy. But, I mean, I just thought she liked hanging out, you know, and all, and everything. And I remember one time, in particular, I was over at her house. I had to leave. She didn't want me to leave, and she grabbed onto my leg, like she was sitting on a couch, and I was standing near the door, and she went and wrapped her arms around my leg and pleaded with me not to leave. And I'm like, I gotta leave. I got stuff I gotta go do, you know. And at the time I was just like, well, you know, it's kind of weird, but whatever. And then I started looking through, you know, the eyes of BPD-dom, and then it started making a little more sense. So I proceeded with caution. Now, looking back, I realized now that she was a much bigger drinker than I had first thought. I mean, we would have drinks and, you know, hang out and whatnot, but there were times where I would wake up in the morning and, after she left, and I'd go in my refrigerator and there'd be stuff that was, half gone. And I'm like, we didn't drink anything last night. So I guess she was getting up in the night and drink. I don't know, man, but some weird stuff was happening, right? Towards the end, it got a lot weirder. And so I broke it off. I was like, this is a little weird, you know. And she was a vegetarian, which was odd to me. I don't understand that. And so she barely ate anyway. So and she was anemic. She had a lot of stuff going on. But again, she was the coolest person in the world to hang out with. And when everything was on, it was pretty cool. But then she'd have some mood swings and all this stuff. And, you know, she didn't really take anything out on me or anything. But I kept picking up this is odd, you know, behavior and whatnot. And so, long story short, I break up with her. And she, for lack of a better term, stalks me for the next 2 years. 2 solid years. I'm getting texts every day, every other day, videos, pictures, emails. It was insane. She just and I'd be and I would, you know, try to be nice and be please stop calling me, you know, I'm seeing somebody else, I'm whatever, you know, and she just wouldn't stop. She'd call me. I mean, I've got 4 million voicemails, right? And so eventually I just stopped responding. And I tried blocking her number, then she'd call me from I could never get her completely blocked. She would just find another way to contact me. So I was like, it's better if I just know it's her. So I left her in my phone and just left the number, you know, let everything voicemail, pick it up and all that stuff. And it just got to where I just, you know, got used to just deleting texts, or, you know, not just ignoring texts. And I didn't talk to her for a solid year and a half. And finally, one night I was laying in bed, and the girl I was with, she calls, and I said, why don't you answer this? And so she talks to her. Still didn't do nothing. Still right on stalking trail, and I couldn't get rid of her. It was insane. Like, I haven't seen her in 2 years, and then all of a sudden she just stopped calling, and I was like, oh, I'm free. I waited a year. I was gonna wait a year to delete all the texts, just because I don't know why, but and that was like gonna be the anniversary of, hey, if she hasn't called me in a year, I'm getting rid of all this stuff and deleting her number, all this crap, right? And a year rolls by, and about 2 months past that year, it's now been 3 years and let's say 2 months since I've seen her in person. I did run into her in traffic one time, but I looked the other way. She saw me. I acted like I didn't see her. But at any rate, the girl that introduced us calls me at midnight one night. I'm laying in bed. I didn't answer it. And she texted me. She said, did you hear about so-and-so? And I was like, well, that's kind of an ominous question. So I immediately went to Google, type in obituary. She died. And I was like, well, and she'd been dead like right at a year. Basically, she died like a month after she's the last text I ever got from her. And I was like, well, that explains a lot. This would have kept going, I guess. And what had happened is she just completely drank herself to death. And her parents found her in her house when they hadn't heard from her for a couple days. Now, the reason I'm telling this story is, I just wanted to get it out because I think about this a lot, because on one hand, I feel kind of responsible for, helping exacerbate this problem. But on the other hand, I'm like, she had these issues before I met her. I don't have a duty to, stay with somebody forever if it's not working out. But at the same time, I feel infinitely sad for her parents, for her 3 nieces that she just doted on, for her. The last time I saw her, she had lost a lot of weight. And it was weird. Like, I guess she just basically sat around and just drank, and that's all she did. And that just killed her. And I guess it's, I've had people die in my life, but I guess that's the first time, maybe the only time, that I've had, like, for lack of a better term, a peer die. Someone who's my age, who I was close to, and it really is surreal, because it was such a wasted life. She had been through some abusive relationships. She had some guys beat her up, which I'm sure didn't help with her mental state. And then she meets me, and I don't beat up women, so, I guess that made me easier to cling to or whatever. Plus my bubbly personality. Kidding. But, I guess I say all this to say this. You just don't know what's going through people's heads sometimes. Even if you kind of get an idea of what it's like, you just never know what people are dealing with. And it's just sad. It's very surreal, like I said. It's very sad. It's very surreal, what happened to her. And now she's gone, and there's nothing you can do about it. And I am having to, deal with, am I supposed to feel guilty? Did I do something wrong? Did I do things that, made this problem worse? Did I make it better for a while, and then when I left, it got bad again? I don't know. I like to think that the latter was true, that while we were together, she had a much better time and a better outlook on life, and, smiled a little more, and, could see the sunshine on days, instead of the crap that the other people she had been with had put her through and all this. But I don't know, man. I guess if you got people that got mental illness and all, check on them. If there's something going on, there's probably something more going on, if you know what I mean. But anyway, sorry for the solemn message. It's just what was on my mind today. So anyway, you get it.